The arrival of the girl with hypnotic eyes. Outpost Delta 9 was silent that night. Far from Earth and far from any trade route, this human-alien research station was usually quiet. Engineers fixed machines, scientists worked in clean labs, soldiers trained in empty corridors. Nothing strange ever happened here until the girl arrived. Her ship fell from the sky like a dying star. A small broken craft tumbled through the blackness and crash-landed in the desert just outside the base. The impact shook the outer walls. Security teams rushed out, weapons ready. When they opened the door of the wrecked ship, they found her. One girl. Unconscious. Alone and glowing. She didn't look like any known alien. Her skin was pale gold, almost like sunlight. Her hair floated like silk in water. Her body was thin and fragile. But her eyes, even closed, her eyes shimmered with violet energy. The team hesitated. One soldier leaned in to check her pulse. Then he froze. He stared at her eyes as they slowly opened. Violet light filled his face, and suddenly he dropped his weapon and smiled, blankly. "Everything is fine," he said softly. The others looked at him, confused. Then one more looked into her eyes. Then another. Soon, 5 soldiers stood around her, calm, still, empty. Back inside the base, alarms were ringing. "Get her inside. Lock her down," the commander ordered. No eye contact. Dr. Lin, the base's chief xenobiologist, wore special filters over her glasses. She studied the girl behind a reinforced glass wall. "She's not unconscious anymore," she whispered. "She's awake and watching." The girl sat on the bed. She said nothing, but her eyes followed every movement. One assistant peeked into the room by mistake. He never blinked again. Meanwhile, a young human technician named Jace Relin was fixing the power relay near the girl's holding cell. He wasn't part of the science team. He didn't even know there was a strange alien girl inside. "Relay's acting weird," he muttered, tapping his tool. "Why do systems always crash at night?" The door buzzed open. Inside, the girl sat quietly, her eyes turned toward him. Jace blinked, paused, waited. Nothing happened. He stared at her. She stared back. But Jace felt nothing strange. No voices in his head. No visions. No calm, warm fog like others described later. Just curiosity. Dr. Lin rushed to stop him. "Don't look at her," she shouted, pulling him back. "I already did," Jace replied. She studied him carefully. "Are you dizzy? Do you feel strange?" "No." She just, looked tired. The doctor was stunned. "You're not affected," she whispered. "Why?" That night, Jace sat in the cafeteria alone. His mind was full of questions. Why was she looking at him like that? Like he was different? Was she trying to say something? She didn't speak a word, but her silence felt louder than anything else. The next morning, orders were strict. No one enters the cell without special shielding. Do not look into her eyes. But Jace was called in again. The power system near her cell had shut down again. "Just fix it and leave," the guard warned him. "And don't look at her." But when Jace walked in, the girl was sitting near the door, watching, waiting. He tried to ignore her and focus on his tools. But then she whispered, just one word. "Why?" Jace turned his head slowly. Her violet eyes met his. They sparkled like galaxies, and, still, he was fine. "Why what?" he asked quietly. She tilted her head. "You see me?" she said softly. "But you don't fall," he nodded. "Yeah, I noticed." She looked confused. "You're different." "Maybe I'm just broken," he joked. The girl smiled slightly. That was the first time she showed emotion. Later, Dr. Lin reviewed the video. She talked to him, she said. "She hasn't spoken to anyone else?" The base commander frowned. "What does she want?" "I don't know," the doctor replied. "But she's not hypnotizing him. She's trying to talk." Outside her cell, Jace stopped by the door. Looked back. She was still watching him. Not like a weapon, not like a monster, but like a lost traveler, hoping to be seen. In that moment, Jace made a quiet promise to himself. He didn't know who she was. He didn't know what her powers were, but he would find out the truth, and maybe, just maybe, save her. Everyone falls, but him. The entire outpost was changing. It started small. A few guards near the alien girl's chamber began acting strange. They stopped talking as much. Their eyes glazed over sometimes. They forgot orders, ignored alarms, and stood still for minutes at a time. At first, people blamed stress or fatigue. But then it spread. One engineer stared at the camera footage of the girl too long, just a few seconds. After that, he never smiled again. He only repeated one line. "She is peace." Another soldier who passed by her cell every day suddenly requested to be transferred to cleaning duty, just so he could walk past her door more often. "Commander," Riles called an emergency meeting. "She's affecting people even without speaking. We've underestimated her power," he said, slamming his fist on the table. "She's like a virus," growled Lieutenant Marin. "One glance and they lose control." "But not everyone," Dr. Lin said quietly. The room fell silent. She pointed at a screen showing video footage Jace Relin inside the girl's chamber, fixing wires, making jokes, talking to her, looking straight into her eyes and walking out normal. Jace didn't know he was the center of attention now. He was back in the maintenance bay fixing a fried panel when a guard approached him. "You're being reassigned." "Why?" Jace asked, wiping sweat from his forehead. "Because you're the only one who can go near her and not fall apart." Jace blinked. "Wait, you mean the girl?" "Yes. Report to her wing. You'll be monitored." That night, Jace stood outside her cell again. He took a deep breath and entered. The girl was sitting on the floor, knees pulled to her chest, glowing eyes watching the ceiling. "You came back," she said softly. "Didn't have a choice," he replied, trying to stay casual. "Apparently I'm immune." Her head turned. "No. You're different." He sat down near the wall, tools in hand, checking a faulty light. "Why does everyone else act weird when they look at you?" She stared into the distance. "Because that's what I was made for." Jace paused. "Made?" She nodded slowly. "They created us to stop wars. One look, and soldiers would drop their weapons. One glance, and enemies would become followers." Jace swallowed. "You mean like brainwashing?" She looked sad. "They called it peace." Jace met her eyes. He expected to feel strange again, lightheaded, calm, but no. Still nothing, only clarity. Suddenly, alarms blared. "Emergency in the West Wing," came a voice through the intercom. Jace jumped to his feet. "What now?" The wall screen lit up. 3 guards had entered her cell area without permission. 2 were frozen in place, smiling softly, ignoring all warnings. The third had smashed his own helmet, trying to feel her gaze better. Commander Riles stormed in. He stared at Jace. "You, get her out of there. She's a hazard. We're moving her to isolation. Deep level." "No," Jace said, standing protectively in front of her. "She didn't do this on purpose. She's dangerous. She's scared," Jace yelled. Everyone froze. Behind him, the girl stood up. Her eyes shimmered, but softer this time. "I never wanted this," she whispered. Riles raised his blaster. "Step aside." Jace didn't move. And then something strange happened. The girl stepped closer to Jace. She reached out and touched his shoulder. Suddenly he saw flashes, not with his eyes, but in his mind. A burning planet. Screams. Laboratories. Machines, forcing her to look into the eyes of test subjects. He flinched. Then the images stopped. She let go. He looked into her eyes again, and understood. "She's not the weapon," Jace said quietly. "She's the victim." Commander Riles hesitated. Fine, he said after a long pause. She stays, but under watch. As they left the room, the girl whispered something Jace didn't expect. I can't affect you, because your mind isn't afraid. That night, Jace couldn't sleep. He kept thinking about the things he saw when she touched him. All those people, controlled by her gaze. But she hadn't wanted to control them. She had just wanted to be seen, and somehow, his mind didn't follow the same path as the others. Was it luck or something else? The base remained tense. More soldiers were replaced. More doctors tried and failed to study her. But only Jace was allowed to stay close. He didn't just fix her, sell anymore. He spoke with her, listened, and over time, she smiled again, the secret inside her eyes. Days passed. The base had changed forever. Most of the staff now avoided the lower wing. That's where she stayed, the alien girl with glowing violet eyes. Her presence made others nervous. Guards refused to look at camera screens that showed her face. Doctors used machines to scan her but kept their eyes closed. They feared her. Only Jace Relin returned every day, not as a technician anymore, but as the only person she could talk to. Jace sat outside, her chamber, sipping lukewarm tea from a metal mug. The glass wall between them wasn't locked anymore. The door could open, but only he was allowed to go in. Inside, the girl sat cross-legged, meditating. Her long hair shimmered like silver. Her breathing was calm. But her eyes, they still held galaxies inside them. Today, she spoke first. My name is Liari, she said softly. Jace raised an eyebrow. First name reveal? Took you long enough. She tilted her head. I wasn't sure you'd stay. He smiled. I'm still here, aren't I? He walked in, sitting across from her. I've been thinking, he said, about your eyes, why they don't affect me. She looked down. They were made to work on minds built from fear, hate, pride. You have none. None? He laughed. I'm human. I have all those. Just maybe less sharp. She looked up. There's another reason. She leaned forward. I think my power only hypnotizes those who seek control, those who want to use me, to dominate. Jace blinked. So you're saying the power doesn't work on people who don't want power over others? She nodded. That's why your mind doesn't bend. Dr. Lin later reviewed this theory. It makes sense, she said. Her gaze isn't a weapon, it's a mirror. It reflects a person's deepest desire. For some, that becomes obedience. For others, obsession. But for me, Jace asked, for you, it reflects honesty, and you don't need to control her to feel strong. That night, Liari called him into the chamber again. I want to show you something, she said. She placed his hand gently against her temple, and then it happened again. A flood of images. But this time, clearer. A lab, white walls, bright lights, scientists in black suits, aliens forced to stare into her eyes until they collapsed, pain, screams, and then freedom, a crash, a fire, an escape pod. Jace pulled his hand back, gasping. You were created, he said, breathless. Made like a tool, she nodded. We were born in glass chambers. Our eyes were tested from birth. If they didn't shine, they destroyed us. A lump formed in Jace's throat. How many of you are left? Just me. That silence was heavy, but Jace stood. You're not a weapon anymore, he said. You're not their creation. You're you. She looked at him, and for the first time since she arrived, a single tear fell from her eye. I don't know who I am, she whispered. Then let's figure it out, Jace replied. Outside the room, guards still whispered. She's dangerous, one said. She's controlling him slowly, said another. But inside, Jace and Liari were building something different. Not fear, not control, but trust. Later that week, Dr. Lin brought news. The Galactic Council has learned of her presence, she said. They've ordered her transfer to the Prime Detainment Facility. Lyari flinched, Jace's hands clenched. She hasn't done anything, he argued. They don't care, the doctor said. They only see her as a threat. That night, Lyari sat in silence, her eyes dimmed, her glow faded. What happens if I refuse to go? She asked. They'll send a team, Jace said. Elite enforcers. They'll use neural dampeners. Force. She looked at him. Will you fight them? Jace didn't answer, but she already knew. He would. As the sun rose over the desert sky, of Delta 9, Lyari walked to the viewing deck. Jace stood beside her. Your eyes, he said. They scared everyone. She turned to him. But not you. No, he said, because I didn't see power. I saw pain. She blinked slowly. And now? He smiled. Now I see someone who deserves to be free. Suddenly red lights flashed. Warning sirens blared. They're here. Dr. Lin's voice crackled over the comm. The Council's ship had landed, and they were coming. They come for her. The sky above Outpost Delta 9 turned dark. A massive Galactic Council ship blocked the sun. Its black hull shimmered with power shields. Rows of guns lined the sides like teeth ready to bite. Jace stood beside Lyari at the viewing deck watching it land. He didn't say anything. He didn't need to. Both of them knew what was coming. Commander Riles stepped into the main control room, his face tight with anger and fear. They gave us a choice, he said. Hand her over quietly and or be marked as traitors. Dr. Lin folded her arms. And if we refuse? They'll use force. Deadly force. Jace stood nearby. Tell them no, he said quietly. Riles turned sharply. They'll kill us all. She hasn't hurt anyone, Jace replied. She saved people. Even when she could have controlled us all, she didn't. She's not human, Riles snapped. She's more human than you, Jace said. In her chamber, Lyari waited calmly, but her hands trembled. I've run before, she whispered when Jace came to her. I don't want to run again. Then, don't, he said. We'll stand. I don't want to see anyone get hurt because of me. Jace looked into her eyes. Then let me speak for you. The council team arrived in full armor, 10 soldiers, silent, cold. Their leader, High Executor Tharn, wore golden armor and a white mask. He entered the command room without greeting anyone. Where is the subject? He asked. Riles hesitated. She's secure, but we request— No requests, Tharn interrupted. The girl's gaze is a Class A weapon. She will be neutralized and contained immediately. Jace stepped forward. She's not a weapon. She's a person. The executor turned to him. You are the one she bonded with. I'm the one who saw her. The real her. Tharn waved his hand. Remove the human. Bring the subject. 2 guards moved toward Jace. Then Lyari's voice echoed from the hallway. You want me? I'm here. Everyone turned. She stood tall, glowing, calm. But her eyes were dimmed, not in weakness, but in choice. She looked at Tharn. He froze for just 1 second. Even through his mask, the power touched his mind. But she didn't push. She didn't control. She only stood there, waiting. I come peacefully, she said. Jace shook his head. No. You don't have to go with them. They'll kill you, she said. I don't care. Tharn stepped forward. Enough. He raised a neural dampener, a metal rod humming with energy. You were born a weapon. You will end as one. Lyari's glow brightened. The air around her shimmered. The soldiers raised their weapons. Stand down, Riles shouted, but no one listened. Lyari looked at Jace one last time. I won't let them hurt you. She raised her hand slowly. The lights dimmed. The station groaned. And then, silence. One by one, the soldiers dropped their weapons. Their eyes went blank. But not from control. From peace. Lyari had shown them something. A single, powerful image in their minds. A galaxy united. A galaxy free. No control. No fear. Only hope. Even Tharn dropped to his knees. He looked up at her, tears leaking from his eyes. "What have you done to me?" he whispered. Layari replied, "I showed you what you could be. Without chains." She turned to Jace. "I didn't hurt anyone." "No," he said, stepping forward. "You freed them." Riles walked into the room slowly. "What now?" Jace looked at the group of silent, peaceful soldiers, and then at Layari. "She can't stay locked up," he said, "but she also can't be hunted anymore." Dr. Lin nodded. "Then we tell the council she's evolved, beyond control, beyond fear." Layari closed her eyes. She could feel it. The bond, the trust, and for the first time in her life, she felt safe. The human shield. Things were quiet after the council ship left. Too quiet. Layari still stayed in her chamber, though the door was never locked. Jace visited her every morning, bringing coffee and soft questions. He no longer came to fix things. He came because he wanted to. The base was adjusting or pretending to. But beneath the calm, something was wrong. Late one night, Dr. Lin met Jace in the hallway. "There's movement in the base logs," she whispered. "Someone accessed restricted files about Layari's biology." "Who?" he asked. "I don't know yet, but whoever it is, they're not from the council. They're from inside." Jace frowned. "Someone here wants her gone." It made sense, not. Everyone believed Layari was peaceful. Some still saw her as a ticking bomb. A few even called her the violet virus behind her back. But now, they were doing more than whispering. They were planning. That night, Jace stayed near her room longer than usual. "I think someone here wants to hurt you," he said quietly. Layari didn't flinch. "They always do. But not this time," he promised. "Not while I'm here." She looked into his eyes. "You always say that," she said softly, "and I always mean it." The attack came the next day. A hidden team, masked, fast, and silent, cut power to her wing. They moved like shadows armed with dampeners and toxins. The lights died. Security cameras blinked out. But Jace had expected it. He was already there. When the door burst open, Jace stood in front of her. No armor, no weapon, just him. "You need to leave," one intruder shouted. "She's a threat to every species." "No," Jace said. "You don't get to decide that. She'll infect you. You're already under her spell." "I'm not under anything," Jace replied. "I'm the only one who sees her clearly." The lead attacker stepped forward with a pulse blade. "Step aside or die." Behind Jace, Layari stood up. She didn't glow. She didn't raise her hand. She just said, "Stop." The word hit the air like a wave, not control, not power, but truth. One of the attackers froze. His weapon dropped. He fell to his knees, whispering, "She's not the enemy." But the others weren't moved. They rushed forward. Jace blocked the first one, slamming his shoulder into the attacker's chest. Layari pulled Jace back. "Don't fight," she whispered. "I have to," he said. "You already are." The air began to shimmer, not from Layari, but from the walls. Emergency shields came up. Dr. Lin had activated the lockdown remotely. Gas vents hissed, disabling the intruders one by one. When it ended, 5 men lay unconscious on the floor. Layari touched one gently. They were scared. "They still are," Jace said. "But fear doesn't win." Later, in the control room, Commander Riles looked at the footage. She didn't use her powers. Not fully. She didn't need to. Dr. Lin said. Jace was her shield. Riles looked at Jace through the window. "Why him?" he asked. Layari's voice came through the speakers. "Because he doesn't look at what I can do. He looks at who I am." Jace sat beside her again that evening. "You okay?" he asked. "I was ready to go back into the dark," she said. "But you stood between me and the world." He nodded. "I always will." She touched his hand. For a moment, their bond shimmered between them, silent, strong, unbreakable, and far away, on another council world. A message was sent. One word. Failed. The bond that changed everything. Liari's name was no longer hidden in files, no longer locked behind clearance codes. Now it echoed across the galaxy. Some feared it, some worshipped it, but most didn't understand it. Not until they saw what was happening. It started inside Delta 9. Soldiers who used to be suspicious now sat outside her chamber in silence, just listening. Engineers brought her tools. She didn't ask. They just came. Dr. Lin noticed it first. She's not using her power, she whispered to Jace, but her presence is changing people. Changing how? He asked. Making them better. Meanwhile, Jace and Liari's bond grew stronger. She didn't just trust him now. She could feel him, even when he wasn't near, and he could sense her emotions like the hum of a quiet song in the back of his mind. One evening, she whispered something new. There's something in me, she said, buried deep. I think it's calling others. Jace stared at her. Calling? Who? She looked at the stars. Others like me. Dr. Lin ran a scan. Buried beneath Liari's DNA, hidden deep in her cells, was a code. Not words, not numbers, but a signal, a pulse. Broadcasting quietly. Only others with her blood could hear it. Wait, Jay said. You said you were the last. I thought I was, Liari said, but this signal, it's reaching someone. 3 days later, a ship answered the call. It landed quietly in the desert far from the base. A single figure stepped out, tall, glowing, with eyes like stars. Another girl. Another like Liari. Jace and Dr. Lin stood beside her as Liari stepped forward. They didn't speak. They didn't need to. The moment their eyes met, the stars seemed to flicker. The new girl's name was Sarah. She had survived hidden for years. She thought she was cursed. Alone. Until the signal reached her. Until Liari called her home. With Sarah's arrival, the council panicked. They sent messages, threats. They feared a growing army, but the girls didn't want war. They wanted truth. Peace. And Jace was the proof it was possible. Then something impossible happened. Sarah looked at Jace. Nothing. No power shift. No hypnosis. No loss of control. He's immune to me too, Sarah whispered. Liari smiled. Because he doesn't want to own us. He wants to understand. Jace grinned. I'm just a mechanic, not a prophet. Sarah laughed. You're more than that now. That night, the bond between Liari and Jace pulsed stronger than ever. Dr. Lin called it resonance. Like two frequencies aligning, she explained. Together, you're not just immune to her gaze, you reflect it. What does that mean? Jace asked. It means your bond can cancel her power and or amplify it. Word spread. A bonded pair, alien and human, not masters, not servants, just equals. The idea shocked the galaxy. Other hybrids began coming out of hiding, and with every arrival, the signal grew louder. On the other side of the stars, the Galactic Council voted. Containment failed. Public fear rising. Declare the bond illegal. But it was too late. The change had begun, and it all started with one girl, and one human who didn't flinch when he looked into her eyes. Later, in the desert outside Delta 9, Liari and Jace stood alone. You started something, she whispered. He shook his head. You did. She turned to him. What if the council sends an army? He looked at her and smiled. Then we give them something they've never seen. What's that? A world where we're not afraid of each other. The bond shimmered. Their hands touched, and for a moment the stars pulsed above them, like they too were holding their breath. The galaxy was watching, but Jace and Liari weren't afraid, because they had already changed everything. Together. The world that finally looked up. The galaxy was quiet before dawn. Not in silence, but in waiting. Across 1,000 systems, people whispered the same name, Liari. Some feared her, some followed her, but almost all had one question. Could someone like her ever belong in their world? Back at Outpost Delta 9, the desert winds blew soft sand over the landing pads. The sky turned pale orange. Jace stood at the edge of the base, watching the horizon. Beside him, Liari stood quietly, her cloak fluttering in the wind. She was no longer just the girl with violet eyes. She was a symbol, a beginning, a choice. Today is the council vote, Dr. Lin reminded them. The Galactic Council had called an emergency meeting. They would decide the future of bonded pairs like Liari and Jace. Would they be allowed or hunted? The vote was happening on a giant floating city called Spire 5, thousands of miles away. Jace and Liari had been invited to speak, not as prisoners, but as witnesses. The journey to Spire 5 was quiet. Sarah came too, and 3 other alien girls who had followed the signal. All of them wore hoods. All of them were once hidden, now standing in the light. Jace looked at them. They didn't look like threats. They looked like survivors. When they landed on Spire 5, cameras flashed. Thousands of people watched on screens. In the center hall, a massive circle of leaders waited, alien senators, human ambassadors, military commanders. Jace had never seen so many important people in one room. Liari walked beside him, her head high. One council member stood. Your powers are dangerous. Should the galaxy be forced to live in fear? Liari replied calmly. Fear doesn't come from power, it comes from what people do with it. Another asked, why should we trust you? Jace stepped forward. Because I did. Before I knew what she was. Before she had a name. I saw a scared girl with glowing eyes, and I didn't run. I sat beside her. Murmurs filled the room. Another senator shouted, and what of the others? More are awakening every day. Sarah stepped forward. We don't want to rule. We want to live. You fear us because of what we could do. But what have we done? No one answered. The head of the council, a silver-skinned alien named Chairwoman Niall, leaned forward. Then show us. Everyone looked at Liari. Jace nodded to her. She took a breath and then she looked up. Her eyes glowed softly, not bright, not burning, but honest. The light passed over the council. One by one they felt it. Their pride, their anger, their fear, and something else. Hope, possibility. A future not ruled by fear, but by trust. She wasn't controlling them. She was letting them see themselves. Chairwoman Niall closed her eyes. When she opened them, tears shimmered. I see now, she whispered. You're not dangerous because of your eyes. You're dangerous because you remind us what we've lost. That night the vote passed. The bond was declared legal, not just accepted, but protected. Liari and Jace were no longer a threat. They were the future. Back on Delta 9, things slowly returned to normal. Well, not quite normal. People smiled more. Guards waved at Liari when she walked by. Engineers stopped to ask about her people. Even Commander Riles shook her hand once. I was wrong about you, he said. She nodded. You were scared. Now, you're curious. One night, Jace and Liari sat on a rooftop watching stars blink into the sky. You changed everything, he said. No, she smiled. We did. You're not scared anymore. She looked at him. I was never scared of the galaxy, she said. I was scared I'd always be alone. Jace reached over, took her hand, and squeezed it gently. You never will be again. Far away on a quiet moon, a young girl with glowing eyes watched the news. She had always hidden her gift. Her parents feared it. She feared herself. But when she saw Liari on the screen holding hands with a human, she finally smiled, and for the first time, she looked up.